This broadcast is inappropriate for all ages right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. Salutations, I am Camerai and I am conversation ready. I've got to do a little bit of disclosure at the beginning of this because I feel like it affects the critique and review process to be somewhat biased. But I did it on Bad Movie Club to a point by doing a Kevin Smith run over there. But that was Bad Movie Club. It's not the glorious nature of this. So today I'm kind of trying to help honor America Young, who directed The Concessionaires Must Die. And I heard it in her movie both ways, because the Concessionaires Must Die and the Concessionaires. So it's just preference, I guess. As much as I like this movie, I don't want to I want to be very transparent that like I'm a fan of American Young's. That's why we're doing this movie. So I kind of went in biased. But I did that for Kevin Smith, and I put him on the Bad Movie Club. And America, I put you here. And I know you're a Kevin Smith fan because you put a Navy SEALs joke inside your Clerks joke in this movie. But we'll get there. While I'm a fan of America Young's. She's been in a couple things like Girls, 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 Electric Emissions, Monster High. She does voice acting and stunt work, so she's not always showing her pretty face around, like, off on the camera. Sometimes she's writing or directing or stunt work or voice acting, so she's in a ton of stuff, but it's a lot of it's TV or TV movies, web series stuff, which is how I found her. She used to do comic book news when I was, or comic book and movie nerd news, and she and another talented host did the show that ended up getting canceled, and I've kind of been badly following her since, so I'm going to end up watching some more American Young movies, and I hope you will too, so go support her. She's a very talented actress, again, all the things I listed, she's top-notch lady, and America, if you somehow see this, both thank you for the movie, I apologize, and it's a standing offer to take you to dinner, like, legitimately, love to meet you or whatever, but, like, if he's young enough to do a promposal, you'd get one, but, I'm afraid best I could do is, like, have a big night in New York or something. So now we've got my bias well established. Let's go ahead and get into the movie itself. And I definitely didn't tell her, like, I told her I watched this. I didn't tell her, like, this was going on for the life of me, that she would actually show up in the audience, and I have an actual panic attack. So we're going to very professionally move on from this point. That's such a lie. But we're going to go ahead and walk through the movie a little bit, and we're going to do some commentary on the stuff that's happening. So again, sorry, but my end-all conclusion on this is that the movie's very cute. I'm going to do an official review on the WeAreMovieClub.tumblr.com. We did watch this over on Rabbit/Camera. We do views for the movies that we cover on Fridays and Sundays. Sunday is the double feature night for Bad Movie Club, We Are Movie Club. Fridays we can Scary Movie Squad. The end-all result of this is that it definitely was a cute movie. It's very I've been putting these types of movies in a category like for a while now, and like in my head, sorry Rosanna Pacino, they're the nerdy nummy type thing. This is a geek movie for geeks. There's another movie called Hero. Yeah, it's got D&D in it, whatever, but this reminds me of a lot of that. It also reminds me of a lot of Clerks. You can see a lot of the influences here. People who are very passionate about doing what they're doing and kind of slacking off at a job that they should care more about, and it's showing more of, like, small business being driven by heart and, like, really caring about the job and the business and the industry as a whole, because there are a lot of movie theaters like the Monarch in this that are going away due to, like, big corporate things, and that's a good metaphor for other things. I'm front-loading a lot of stuff here, but it's all relevant, and it's hard to pin down my exact feelings on the movie other than I like it. It's fun, it's sweet, and nerdy. I think those are the three adjectives I used, because there's a very good kind of romantic edge to some of this in here. Again, it's all a lot of nerd stuff, and it's not necessarily like, oh, Wolverine, snicky, snicky, snoo, but it's got references to like selling these comics that are like the nearest and dearest thing to you. And if you've been a comic book fan, leaving some of those things behind is a big deal. I personally left my favorite comic collection that I've ever had is honestly, when I went to graphic novels, I left Watchmen and Civil War behind at a friend's so that their kids can read them. And I don't know if that's happening, but that's my shared experience to this movie. So we'll jump on in. So we open on Batman, of all things, which gets interrupted for Scott's actual opening. There's actually like honestly a Scott Pilgrim vibe here too. It almost interjects itself like a video game would, if you're more familiar with that than comics, where comics can constantly interrupt themselves and switch style, medium, and everything like that. It's like it'll be drawn in one way, doing one representation, and then the hard cut to the next. So we get to see that, and we get to see how Scott sees himself as the hero that the Monarch needs, but not the one they deserve right now, versus how his friends see him. And like, well, the boilerplate is that they're all nerds and geeks and stuff. And we go through this introduction of characters that are like very like nerdy typecast, and we even kind of have like the desperate mom who wants to be cool and be accepted. Or maybe she's not even a mom, because maybe it was her sister's kid or niece. I don't know. She acts kind of like a mom, but we accept all folks into the nerd fold, if you will. God. And then of course we get Fisk Theater, the enemy, the corporate machine, and we get the guy over there. I can't remember his name offhand, but he's the dickhead. He's like having Lex Luthor fantasies where he's also Godzilla and he's like wrecking the city. Anyone who dreams about being Lex Luthor, put them in a little room and don't let them at the rest of the world, because they'll probably still do some damage from that little room. Lex Luthor is not a role model to aspire to for any healthy life ever. Let's see. One of my favorite things about this movie, and it's not even like a key point or a story thing, which I feel bad about, but at the same time, this was such a great bit to put in the movie that I don't even consider it padding time, though ultimately that's probably what it was, is like the lost and found. Like the amount of stuff that people drag into the theater and then leave there. It was like a medieval flail. There was like a cooler with lobster in it. Now that would make sense. Like you wanted to have a snack while you were there, maybe, but I just don't know if like they were cooked lobsters in a cool. I don't know. I didn't get to go through it myself. Like they find clown noses, underwear. I think the big punchline, forgive the pun, was like a 3 or 4 foot suction cup dildo that was like on the counter. I was laughing at the extra scenes at the end where like they can't get it off the well, they can't get it off. Yeah, I walked into that where they can't unsuction it from the counter. It's really a prime joke, but like the delivery of it was perfect, because your brain has to take so long to recognize something, and they had it like hidden with popcorn things. And I'm not trying to go on about this, but like it was just such a brilliant, funny moment that like the girl comes in and she's like, "That's where that is," and rips, like uncovers it so that you get the punchline, and then gives you a second punchline as she runs away. I'm just saying, like you can see in the writing of this that there's love and humor of good quality in it. Okay, so back at the theater, we get to see American Young make her own appearance in her own movie, because this is a thing the directors tend to do, is they put themselves in for one scene as a Can You Find Me cameo, and she recognizes the girl who's a former YouTube star or movie star or TV show star. I can't remember exactly what she did, because it wasn't as important as knowing that she was once famous and is like loathing it, but desperate to get back to it as well. So like every time someone recognizes her, it's like, weren't you this? And she's like, yeah, I was. And like, so that's the negative attitude that like she's got to overcome as her character. So there's actually some good development in Ashley's character there. Not only like recognizing her problems and whatnot, but actually just generally working on her attitude and taking agency to make her life better, which is really like a key point of this movie, where the you see Scott do something very similar, where he's trying to grow up and let things go so that he can be more of an adult. And not necessarily that these comics and things aren't things that you can enjoy as an adult, but when, as an adult, when like push comes to shove, you sacrifice for the things that are more important. Whereas a kid might hang on to it till the bitter end. I apologize. Hopefully that will go away. So Derek's the dickhead. So he finally comes in, and we can see that he's actively trying to buy the theater, and he's not even the guy in charge. His dad's in charge, and he's been like sent as a minion to go parlay with the monarch and get the job done, type of thing. So, my favorite character, I think, in the entire movie is definitely Panty Pack Guy. I know we're making fun of him, but like, there's something about it, like, where he owns the character so well that I honestly respect him. And it reminds me a lot of The Big Bang Theory, just with this one guy, because it used to be a show about nerds for nerds, and they kind of like shifted the perspective because people wanted to make fun of the nerds, and that's what we have now. So this is kind of like that, where like people are having the perspective like, oh, I want to make fun of this guy, but this guy's awesome. Yeah, maybe he's a little overweight, or a lot. I don't know his... I'm not a doctor. Important thing is that he's healthy. I think his haircut's a little goofy. Whatever, maybe he likes it. But he's got a fanny pack around his waist, because it's convenient. And he owns that shit. He just has this attitude. He's dropping movie reference lines. He fits right in with these nerds and folks, and he shouldn't be pushed out for that reason, especially since he's got like the best attitude ever. So it's like, what are you going to be like? Hey, fanny pack guy, why don't you hate yourself more? No, screw that noise. Love fanny pack guy. And I almost wanted like Ashley to actually like be pretending to be into him, but actually be into him. And I think she enjoyed the option of that guy, because she saw herself as better. She's like, oh, at least I'm not this guy. And like, hey, you keep it up, because I want you to keep coming around so that I feel better through you being here. And then later on, that just gets crushed. And we're going to pick that up later, because I like talking about that guy. But so we're going to spread out the love a little bit. So I love that like they had that flirty romantic thing going on. And I don't think it's too mean, because they're both happy about it and she's not mean about it. Like, that would be different. So Gabby calls a meeting. I like that it was a lady that was the owner of this, because it's atypical. So it did kind of mix it up. It made it feel thematic with the other, not outcasts, but oddballs that are running the show on the Concessionaires side of things. But the fact that she didn't start it, it's not something she was passionate about. It's something she kind of got saddled with when her dad died. And saddled may be the wrong word. So I liked that, like, it was kind of like she's in this position. You can honestly kind of take it to a metaphor of pregnancy and, like, life. Like, she was knocked up, not really, like, by her choice, but she's dealing with this baby. And then, like, the decision to sell or fight forward is kind of like the birthing process, because it would become a new place at that point. So the birth of her baby is essentially like a metaphor for options to go anywhere. I'm being very metaphorical and deep in this movie, but like there's options for it where I don't get that sometimes. Like we just did Hulk 2003. you get a couple here and there. Like, you have the Hulk himself as the metaphor. But past that, you don't get a lot. It's like, oh, do you want to see some action? You want to feel sad? And then we did Prometheus, which I don't know what that movie's lost to me if there's metaphors to be had. So we get our first kind of like real romantic. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have the kids that are trying to sneak in, which I thought was interesting. An interesting like side story, because they don't really get involved. It's not an important part of the story. In fact, if you want to look at it again a little bit deeper, it's kind of like one of those things that could be, and you could even loop it back into the pregnancy kid metaphor if you wanted to. But it's a thing that could be that just never was, because it was never continued, because we had a cut in that part of the storyline. I'll circle back to it, I'm sure. But no, I'll go ahead and spoil it. So the older gentleman, John, like dies of a heart attack, and he's actually narrating. But he starts it as him being dead. So it's actually a legitimate surprise that he dies in the middle of his own story. Because normally you tell your story and you tell it to the end and then you die. But there's some nominal exceptions to that here and there, but we don't need to get into that. The first romantic arc that really takes place, other than Ashley and Scott, because that's not obvious for a while, you get Heather, who comes in, and we get RJ, who's not good with girls. Kind of a Kuther Polly situation, if you will. And he says poop to her. I'm just going to go in general that that's not a good thing to say unless you know for a fact it's going to get a laugh. Or she's into it, whatever. Like, I'm not judging, but it's generally not good. Put it right up on the list with Smurf penis. It's just not a good angle to go with when you're trying to get with anyone. So he has to go research. I don't know, they punish him or he has homework or whatever, but he has to go research cool guys in movies. After that, I like that. There was another thing I missed after the kids. Oh yeah, so we get the introduction of the Lord of the Ring nerds, or the LARPers. I don't know. I just call them the cowardly nerds or something throughout this. That are like actively antagonistic to the concessionaries. Like, they're the ones that are actually like, the concessionaries must die. Like, so they're the title characters. Well, I guess the concessionaries are the title characters, but they're the title antagonists. So it's like they're such minor weak characters that maybe there's a metaphor there of like you can overcome obstacles no matter how ridiculous. But that's all I got. Like, I can't jump too far into that. Okay, so oh yeah, so we get the screaming outlet between Scott and Ashley, and it makes a weird bonding moment. I thought that was sweet. So we kind of have our two major love arcs established. And then we just got John talking about the kids, and like, he saves them from Clockwork Orange only to deliver them unto Jaws. But Clockwork Orange is probably not something you want to be traumatized with. I think you'd much rather be afraid of sharks for the rest of your life, for being honest. If you're wondering about watching Clockwork Orange, it's heavy. Don't go into that thinking, oh, this will be fun, because it's intense, but it's not necessarily fun. So back at Fisk, Derek is basically having delusions of grandeur, like just out in the open, and Dad's pissed at him. So he's well aware his son's a weirdo. But there's other pieces that we're still missing at this point. I want to step into them because I actually like that drip feed of information. If you've ever seen Stoker, that's my go-to movie to show, like, hey, what does drip feeding information means? It means this, because every like 3 scenes, the entire movie changes, or the perspective of the movie changes. Back to being distracted. Look, a puppy. I don't have puppies. I got a kitty somewhere. I didn't Okay, so yeah, we have our famous Clerks moment here. I was really happy to see this. I almost rewound it and watched it again because I was like, ooh, Navy SEALs. So it was just a funny thing like to connect on to me. And of course, it's like from a clerk's perspective, it's like this job would be great if it wasn't for the fucking customers. So you've got idiots who ask all these stupid questions, and then you've got like stereotypical customers that you have to interact with, like the nerd guys that are antagonistic, and the PDA couple, which. What were they like? They walked in like Bambi or something, and then like not even the back of the theater, like right in the middle of the theater, just like not even like nice kissing, not even like, hey, how you doing? Like more like you have a lollipop on the back of your head, like full body, like they probably almost broke the chairs, and those are expensive chairs. So silly string is cheaper, so that's the more obvious answer to go about. The concessionaires like pass out silly string as ammo, weaponry, and so they decide to silly string the makeout couple. It's like, oh, I want to talk to your boss, and the boss is like, that would be me. I don't understand how, like, you do something like that and think you're in the right. The point of doing something like that is to not care about other people and be like, oh, we're just in love. Like, and just go in the moment. So, like, if they had just kept making out through the silly string, I think I would have had to respect it. Be like, this is their theater now. Like, they passed the test. Maybe you could hit them with a hose if you really were serious about getting rid of them, but the whole theater seemed happy, so that's the type of theater I went into. Like, after being in Austin, the Alamo Draft House. I really like their policies and everything. If you get a chance, go to an Alamo Draft House. It's worth it. They've got dinner there, drinks, whatever you like. But unfortunately, like right at the end of all this, like John slumps into a chair and dies by a heart attack. The Kevin Smith references go on, though he didn't die yet at the time of this filming. That's all I can say about that. So we have that weird, awkward thing. So we're about halfway through the movie, and John dies, narrating his own story. And I honestly don't remember, because the movie's actually immersive enough that I didn't care about the narrator going away. I feel bad for not saying, like, I don't care that John died. He's a fine enough character. He's a good guy. He was kind of like the older, wiser gentleman who helped the young kids. But like, losing the narrator like didn't do anything to me, because I was invested in the story at this point, invested in the characters that are still there, and like sad that he left. And watching all the characters deal with that was a kind of a weird mini crisis inside the big crisis. It was like a Russian nesting doll of crises. Chryslers. Having so Scott watching John die like sets off his morality clock. So he starts having flashbacks of Grandpa Stan Lee and bullied at American Young for being able to get Stan Lee in there. I know he's a busy guy for his age, and he's not exactly sharp as a tack anymore, but the man did a lot for us in the time he was able. So he can enjoy his life however he wants. If he doesn't want to remember anyone else's name, he doesn't have to. He could just enjoy being Stan Lee for his last few years, as he does. And I don't blame him in the slightest. I love that even in the spite of like mortal death, or inspired by it even, RJ's like, I gotta get with this girl. Not like that, because RJ's not a perv, but it's a romantic aspect. I really like girls, but I can't talk about them, and there's this one special one, and I'm gonna find a way, and his friends help him, and they give him a little push in that direction, and it's really sweet. That he manages to talk to Heather like a cool guy. He's dropping movie line references, and she happens to be that type of girl, so you know it's a good match. Because I've been that guy before, and some ladies do not like that. But that just means I was talking to the wrong ones. and that's fine. Let's see. So, and at the same time, it's like we've got all this fun crossover. But it's a lot. There is some. It's not pacing. I don't know what the word is. I do apologize. I don't know what the word is, but there's some timing aspects where it's like a lot of stuff does run together, but it still flows well. It's just hard to keep track of to talk about. I'm glad I took notes. We've got Not Dung Dum Dugan showing up in a bowler cap, no less. And I'd like that cap. I'd like to know where that cap came from, because I wouldn't mind getting one. And like, he has glowing money. I didn't quite get that. Maybe it's supposed to be a reference to like a treasure chest, like, but it's plays like the Light of God music, and it's got the glowy chest, and it's really well done, and they do it multiple times to a good effect, which I was actually impressed with. But I think the first time he turns him away. Yeah, the very first time they talk, he turns him away, and then later on, he gets a little bit more serious about it, and he manages to make a good sale. And that's when Derek is listening in, because he had his mole plant a bug, I guess, a spy device, a microphone, whatever you want to call it. It's ridiculous that anyone would go to that length to do it. And I just have the shifting perspective of his dad, because his dad seems like a nice guy by the time we actually get real interaction with him. But we only see him interact with his son, who he's not very nice to, if we're being honest. Now, granted, his son's a crazy person, but I don't know. Like, maybe you could try a little bit, a tiny bit, maybe, Dad. That's just how he made me feel. The point of watching movies and people making movies for you to watch is for you to have a reaction to them. If you really have nothing to say about a movie, that is the worst thing you can do to an entertainer or creator. This is a side tangent, but wrestling, like, I was a pro wrestling fan for quite some time, and Triple H made some excellent points. He loved getting booed because it showed that he was effective as an actor. It meant that he was doing his job as the villain to make people hate him. When The Rock used to come out as a good guy and people were just dead silent, that was bad. That was the epitome of the bottom of the barrel for wrestling. And if he hadn't had famous father or famous family legacy, that would have been the end for him. But they kept him around. They found another angle, and again, they made him a bad guy, and he got those boos, and he was back in business. That's why, like, whether you like or dislike a video, do whatever you like on this one. It's all good for the creator. The worst thing you can do to somebody is not watch or not go to their page. Okay, back to this movie, because I have the tendency to tangelize, to make tangerines. Yes, that's what I do. So Derek comes over to mess with Scott, and he says Rosebud a lot. I didn't even make that a note, but I remember that because it was so awkward. Don't ever do that to anybody. Don't just walk up to him and be like, Rosebud. Rosebud. You know why. Rosebud. Which it was kind of creepy that she didn't want him to call him that and whatever, because it's very shortly revealed that, like, Rose was, like, the girl that broke Derek and Scott up, even though Derek is the one that broke them up because he's a crazy person. Oh my gosh. So, and then, like, again, like, Derek's just like the worst villain ever. So I don't know what to do with this. He's got 4 minions to go hire an army of people to mess with the Monarch, and, like, which is actually ends up being kind of a clever plan the way he pulls off. And if he hadn't pissed off his mole, happy employees, I'm telling you, they make better products. Not complacent employees, but happy. So it really shows him, like, he's lost his mind. He's laughing out loud to no one. He's, my vengeance shall be here. That's the type of thing. And more importantly, it messes with RJ's date with Heather, because his friends hook him up, because he didn't think of this himself, I guess, is that she gets free admission for the movie because it's their date, and then she gets free concessions. and I see her get the popcorn. But for the life of me, I wanted to know what a peanut butter and jelly soda was. I still want to know. I want to see one. I want to hold it and be like, this is a thing that exists. I just tried it. Wow, this is my reaction. And I think, honestly, if I got a hold of a peanut butter and jelly soda that actually tasted like a peanut butter and jelly soda, I'd do 100 reaction videos in like 5 seconds. I'd just be like, I'd cut them all together. I'd load them up all individually. It would be a total thing. I would become the peanut butter and jelly soda guy. Small dreams. So, regardless, Derek ends up having all his new hired homies crash RJ and Heather's date. Douchebag move. And when RJ finally finds Heather to sit next to her, he's late. That was really nice. She holds his hand and that's how we know that it's not a Dahmer situation. It's a Doppler situation. If you've watched How I Met Your Mother, there's the Dahmer-Doppler theory, which if you do something sweet for somebody, if they're into it, it becomes a Doppler situation where you're the romantic hero. A Dahmer is someone like is a creeper. I get people that cross the street to walk in traffic to get away from me. So I'm going to say like I'm on the Dahmer end of things without trying a lot of times. But a few lucky times in my life I have been in the Doppler situation. And let me tell you, it feels good. And so like if you find someone you're into, whatever you're doing to make that click happen, get her done with respect or whatever she's into, if that's not it, or they're into, because we are in a whole new world and I'm talking to guys and girls. I did really appreciate that like Derek had like a feather in the cap of his plan here, is that he drugs Scott, and because Scott is such a comic book nerd, his brain goes to a wonderful place. Now, I'm going to say this again, because I did tweet this to her. American Young, I really want something that's more action-centric in, like, a comic book land. Something like Super, maybe. Like, I would love, like, to see you explore that angle with, like, maybe a woman lead, and, like, even go, like, the super feminist route where, like, showing, like, it's good to fight for equality, but like the point where she just is bashing male heads, like maybe that's the step too far and she has to reconcile or something like that. That's a 10-second writing of a movie. I'm sure there's people that can do better things. I'm gonna move on back to this movie because I keep doing this. So Derek tries to make Gabby a counteroffer. She ends up stupidly leaving him in the office with the money that they already have to buy out the theater themselves, while Scott's freaking out thinking he's Batman with one of the best costumes I've ever seen, which is popcorn bag, Batman hat, and garbage bag cape. I really appreciated that because the Batman like delusional costume so good looking that I was like, okay, I see what he did. Like someone had a Batman thing and nope, just garbage. It's all, he's tripping hard. So I was really enjoying that, but it really did make me want more. And I know she has the action background to do it. The real punchline to that delusion is imagining RJ, because he comes to help out, as Robin, which is fitting for the situation that he came to assist Batman. But he's still in the bear costume from earlier, which was a really funny joke that I actually forgot about. There's some great little one-offs in here. Like, they put him in a bear suit because they're trying to raise money for the theater. And, like, it's like $20 to wrestle the bear, and it's him in his furry outfit, pedo bear or something, that they found left in the theater. And so, like, they end up... Sorry, it's just funny. Pimping them out or whatever to wrestle kids to raise money. And they said like they made like $300 or something. So it was really impressive that like that was the successful endeavor. Oh man. So let's see. Oh man. So as Scott is recovering, oh, he does see Ashley as Catwoman too, which is very telling. Derek's gang goes and riots the theater, trashes it and everything. And while Scott's recovering, we get like this unnecessary flashback. I'm just being honest. This really did feel like padding. That like he dated a girl that Derek had dated, and Derek was in love with her. And then that's what ended their friendship. Now, I'm not saying that the information was not needed. The information was definitely needed. But like the flashback was just so jarring. It's like, I'll be honest, it's like the one thing I really thought was off. Because it's like, we're going. Let's go back to a time before. And I'd hate to go on, but it's just a weird setup. But it does drip feed the information. It does change the perspective of the movie. So it has its point and purpose, whether or not I like it or not. Jesus, cat. God, get your fur out of here. So it does have its point and purpose, and I give you credit there. But surely enough, in the aftermath, Derek stole the money. Gabby's ready to sell just to pay Scott back at this point. She's so worn out emotionally at this point that she can't take it. And we get this fun bit of like fanny pack guy, like he's going home for the night or whatever, right? And this is Rooster. You want to say hi? No? Okay. And he shuts down Ashley, and like the blooper reel or whatever for that is just fantastic. He's like, but I need you to avoid your gaze because you get a look at this, it's just done. But like that was the real reality check for her, is that even the guy that I honestly think wrongly that she thought she was above, like has this shit together more than she does. And so like that's kind of her wake up call to go get herself fixed. And not that she's broken, but she needed help. And the most important thing is support, and she had that. She had that in the family at the Monarch. Let's call it a family. Going to the back room. Yeah, skip that. So the nerds come in with Kira, who's kind of like the mom character that I described early on, because she was the mole the whole time, and even though she tried to get out of it, like, because what is she going to do? She owes him the money. Honestly, the correct thing is like, he's like, I just cannot pay you back because it wasn't really a legal contract. I don't care. You can't legally hire someone to do crimes for you. So depending upon like the terms of the contract, but I don't know. These are people who work at movie theaters. I doubt they're lawyers on the side. Though that would have been a fun character to put in. Kitty, you were in the way of my notes. And then they issue a declaration to Scott for him to come fight Derek, essentially, at least symbolically. So he goes to Fisk by himself. Gotta do this alone. Which is outright said that that's stupid, and it is stupid macho bravado. That I'm so glad that gets stomped out by the family backing him up. And sure enough, like there's this stupid like fight about to break out. The tension's rising, and slap fight because they're both wussy little comic book nerds. To the truest extent of the stereotype. Because I'm not saying that there aren't comic book nerds that can kick ass, and I'd like to think I used to be one of them, if not now. Because some of those people take inspiration from their heroes, even if they're fictional. Kitty, you are in the way. But there's some very inspirational speeches there. It's a very well put together scene. The dialogue's pretty solid. But it is the worst fight ever, and it's like that on purpose, so I'm not knocking it for that. But Dad rolls in, and Dad rolls in like a boss, too. Not only does he have his, like, his butler, or whatever it is, but he rolls in like, what the hell's going on? No, I apologize for whatever that idiot did. Immediately claims it up. So immediately a redeemable character, because that's the problem with a lot of arrogant people, is that they never own up to anything. They always exonerate themselves, and that's not the way it goes. It's like, this happened, you did X that helped lead to Y, and like, that's all I ask, is own your shit. So that's what we end up doing here. Let's see. And I really like the way it goes, because it's like there's some negotiation, so it's like a word battle to word battle, because I don't want to like claim like these are the smartest people ever, but they're nerds and geeks and stuff that aren't necessarily like physically domineering, but maybe they can work their way in the words and mind fields a little bit. So they managed to pull a couple tricks with Mr. Fisk or whatever, and they end up merging the companies with Scott staying on as manager, which he makes immediate proposals for financial diversity, which I thought was funny. Like, it's like, that's real bold. Like, you just got the job, haven't signed any paperwork, and you're already asking for investment money to renew and build back capital, which actually is a smart way to go if you have the startup cash, or at least a very, very good business plan to get the cash from somebody else, which he ends up turning the Monarch into like what looks like a museum. Now, this, like, where the museum's at, it seems to be out in the lobby. So maybe it's like that's part of the bonus of like coming to the Monarch and watching vintage stuff there. Well, of course, you've got the Omniplex Fisk theaters across the way. Let's see. And then we kind of get that epilogue feeling about it, where like Scott and Ashley are like, will they, won't they, will they, won't they? Because RJ and Heather are well established that they're makeout buddies, in the broom closet, no less. But, and so having dated someone in AA, that chip that Ashley totes at the end is very important. It is a very important part of not necessarily her identity, but like what she's going through at that time in her life, and like how far she is, and the fact that she is concentrating on herself. So it ends on a very self-empowering moment, that not necessarily like that you need a man, or you need a woman, or you need anybody, but it's nice to find connections where you have them, and have them be legitimate, sincere connections that bring people together, regardless of what trials and tribulations you're going through, or success. Because people tend to forget, like, with success, especially in business, there comes a lot of stress and anxiety with that as well, to maintain, if nothing else. So that's about where we end there. Like, again, like, I can't say this enough. I really enjoy this movie. I can't pretend like Oscars or anything are in the way, but it's definitely a movie written for people like me, to enjoy, by people like me, who love comic books, who love movies, who love nerdy, geeky things. So I really appreciate this movie for what it is. It's fun, it's cute, it's nerdy. It's what I want for a fun, lighthearted movie, and I was really kind of in desperate need of that when we watched this, so I'm glad I watched it when I did. And I watched it for the first time for this. Again, the review will go up on WeAreMovieClub.tumblr.com. Along with our other movies and stuff for the week once I get those finished. And the bad summary will be up by next weekend as well. If you haven't checked those out, go over to youtube.com/WeAreMovieClub and check out some of those summary reviews. Movies are long. We want you to come watch the podcast, so we do those summaries so that you can save a little bit of time. So, that's really all I got to say. I want to keep going, but I got to get on. So until I see you next time, from all of us here at #WeAreMovieClub, have a nice day. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go to click the annotations, and it'll take you to other channels. Thanks for watching.